probably not his same line of thinking, but anyway, here we are today. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and another video. Today I'm doing a Q&A. I asked you guys on Instagram to ask me some questions that you may want to know about me. Today I'm going to answer them, so stay tuned to the end because I also want to ask you guys some questions and you can let me know in the comments. I really want to get to know you guys more and for this to be like a two-way street. I also want to know who my subscribers are. At the end I'm going to ask you guys some questions and you can tell me in the comments. Part of what I like about YouTube is it feels like I'm talking to friends and I can just be myself, so I want to know about you guys and about you. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first question is, how are you coping with monsoon? Honestly, it's just like normal life for me. In Ireland, it's literally like this almost daily, like raining, cloudy, grey, overcast, cold. So honestly, monsoon here is not a problem for me at all. Do I like it? No, I definitely prefer sunny and warm weather and hot weather. Yeah, it's literally almost identical to the weather in Ireland, honestly, most year round. So yeah, there's been nothing for me to cope with or that's been difficult for me in monsoon at all. The only thing is just it's a time where I feel like I can do less things out in nature or outside, you know, just because of the weather. And I know that Indians love to do trekking and stuff in monsoon, and this is the perfect time for that type of thing for them. But for me, it's no. Do you know, I'd rather do that when it's a nice hot day. Don't ask why, but just I can actually see and it's not as cloudy and misty and it's nicer views and everything. So yeah, but to answer the question, I have no problem with monsoon here, dealing with it completely normal because it's literally how I've grown up around. So yeah. Okay, so someone asked, why are you obsessed with India? If your boyfriend is Indian, then understandable. Otherwise, nothing good here. Okay, so there's a couple of different parts to this question. So the first part, why are you obsessed with India? I would say as of now, I'm not really obsessed with India, certainly not in the way that I was. If you talked to Nicola in 2021, 2022, yeah, I would say I was pretty obsessed. But now it's just normal for me. I feel like this is my second home. I don't feel obsessive about India. I still obviously love doing India related content and talking about life in India and everything like that, but I'm not I don't have that obsessive feeling that I used to. But if you're just wondering why I have an interest in general in India, it's just because I love the culture, I love the way of life here. I think it's normal for people to be attracted to something that's very different to what they know or grew up with. So if you compare a country like Ireland to India, they're completely different. Ireland's quite grey, dull, you know, quite a corporate life there generally, and India's bright and vibrant and just has lots of color and life, and people seem alive here. So yeah, I mean, I have another video coming on the detailed reasons of why I like India, so you can check that one out. To get to the next part, sorry, what was it? If your boyfriend is Indian, then it's understandable. Okay, I don't think at all that someone's interest in something has to be defined by a person, or it shouldn't matter if I have an Indian partner or not. I don't really get why that normalizes it. It's kind of if someone has an interest in playing video games, that's what they like, that's their interest, that's their hobby. It's the same thing for me. And maybe because I've never talked much about the context of how I got into Indian culture, maybe it doesn't make that much sense other than to lob it in the direction of my Indian partner. But when I was growing up, I always had a huge interest in the world and different cultures, and it kind of started with my interest for world music. So I was really obsessed with Middle Eastern music, Chinese music. I've at that time also listening to Indian classical music Ravi Shankar and stuff. So that's how my interest it started, is actually just because I have an interest in cultures and the world and music. So it was never defined by my partner. I'll get to this next question in a second, but how I met my partner was because I already had an interest in India. So it wasn't tied to that, but even if it was, there shouldn't also be anything wrong with that either. It's so funny because a lot of other people I see doing this kind of content about India or their life in India, 99% of them have an Indian spouse. They also get comments about oh, this woman is making, you know, her partner's culture her entire personality, blah, blah, blah. And I feel there's nothing wrong with either. There's nothing wrong with getting into the culture and loving the country because you were introduced to it because your partner is from there. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with just developing an interest through your own discovery and like who you are is also nothing wrong either. And this person, whoever wrote this question, kind of sounds like you're a bit disillusioned with life in India, and that's completely understandable. I was the exact same way about my life in Ireland, completely just not enjoying life there, not feeling good there. So it can happen to anyone in any country, and thus we don't understand why someone else would have an interest in that country. For example, so many Indians are living and settling down in Ireland, and obviously mostly because of the work opportunities and, you know, everything like that. But to me, it's also kind of crazy, like, wow, like to move from a country like India where there's like community and people and like life and vibrancy and color, to move to a country that's like cold and like kind of dull and very isolating, especially for Indians. I feel like Ireland would be a very isolated place for a lot of them long term. Again, not generalizing, that's just like my thought process on it. So I completely understand why you have this question and why it's difficult for you to understand. It's the exact same for me on understanding why people would want to settle down in a country like Ireland. It's same. And in Ireland, there's so many housing crisis issues. Most of us can't even afford to buy a house in Ireland. Even though we've been working for so many years, it's just not a reality for so many of us. So a lot of Irish people are emigrating to Australia, to Canada. And I think people, you know, from India, they don't see the negatives about European or Western countries. They just immediately think like, oh, opportunities and a better life. And it depends. It's for a lot of people, yes, that it has all of those things and it will offer that. But if you've grown up there, you will, just like the same in India. If you live in India, you see all of the negative things about it, all of the corrupt things, the negative mentalities, the crazy ideas that shouldn't still be imposed, but they are. And it's the exact same. It's the exact same. Like for me, coming from a country like Ireland, so many of people might be like, oh, Ireland's so amazing, but I have a different view because I grew up there. So it's the exact same thing, I guess, that this person is kind of telling, is like, why would you see anything good there? Because they've grown up here and they see all of the bad things, and that's normal for any of us. And also, social media just shows such a small part of someone's life. I'm choosing to only make content about India, and that's all the only thing I'm showing on my YouTube and Instagram. But is that like all of me? Of course not. If you meet me in real life, will I just be sitting there talking about India? Of course not. So I think it's just like not to take social media too seriously. It's easy to look at someone's account or page and be like, wow, like this person's obsessed with this thing, but it's just what I'm choosing to show. It's like, it's just an interest, and I'm showing the interest online. I also have a huge interest in music, and I don't really show that online. So it's kind of just like, not everything on social media is to be taken so seriously, and it really is just a fun platform for me to like express what I enjoy. And the reason why I like to show it on social media as opposed to my other interests is because honestly, I don't have anyone in my life that I can talk to about this interest and hobby, because no one in Ireland, like in my friends or family, like really gets it, or I think they've accepted it. Like as time has gone on, they've accepted it that, okay, she's interested in that, but they don't really get it. And I can see on their faces when I talk to them about different things, they're just kind of like, they don't get it. And some of their responses even prove to me that like they just don't understand this side of me. And that's fine. Not everyone's going to understand every part of you, and I have to accept that. But that's why I like to showcase my love for India online, is because I don't have anyone in my actual life that I can kind of express it to and talk to about, aside from my partner. So yeah, that's why I guess you see it like only on my social medias, because that's what I've chosen to show. Anyway, I hope that answers most of the question. Yeah, sorry, it was a bit long-winded, but there was different parts to it that I had to answer. And yeah, thank you for asking that question. It was a good one, and I hope informative. Okay, so next one is, what is your daily working time? So in India, I'm not working. I'm here on tourist visas. So whenever you see me in India, I am not working. I'm actually going to explain about this a little bit more in detail. I can talk a little bit about what I did in Ireland, if that's maybe what you're referring to as well. So yeah, as of now, not working. When I was in Ireland, I was a lettings negotiator. So I worked in a real estate agency. And yeah, I just finished my qualification last year to get my license. In Ireland, you need like a license to like negotiate and sell property, and like, yeah, you need to be like a licensed agent. So I completed that last year, and yeah, I just love homes. I love houses. So that's why I got into this industry and interior design and everything. Not that that's anything to do with what I do, but I love that as well. Just really, it's always been my biggest dream in life to own my own home. So that's kind of what spurred me to go into it, was like helping people find their like dream home, and helping, you know, property is like the biggest asset most of us will ever have or hope to have. For many, it's not even a reality to have. So yeah, I just love the idea of being part of that process, and that's why I got into it. So I've left that job in May of this year. Going back to last year, I was in India for a couple of months that you would have seen, and back then my job was really good to me. They let me basically keep my job, so that like I left it for 3 months, came to India, and when I came back to Ireland, they let me start the job again and stay in that position. Yeah, it was just really perfect because I didn't have to wonder like, when's my next paycheck? You know, the reality of like this kind of like long distance cross-culture relationship is, it is logistically difficult. But that was something that was really good, that I knew that when I came back, I would have my job again. However, this time around, obviously that's not sustainable for any company, and unfortunately I can't continue that this time around. So I left the job in May to come back and spend 6 months here in India. And yeah, like I'm still on tourist visas, so I'm spending 6 months per year in India for now. Hope that soon that won't have to keep happening, but yeah. So moving on to the next question, where are you from? I am from Ireland. Some people may not know where Ireland is. I've definitely had that before here in India, people not knowing where it is. So it's a very small island beside England, so beside UK. England, it kind of seems weird to say England. UK. Next question is, how did you guys meet? What's your story? Just trying to manifest something same. I'm assuming he means my relationship, I guess. So there's two parts to this question. I'm going to talk first how we met, and then I'll talk about the fact that you're trying to get something similar. It was 2021 and I was learning Hindi on Duolingo. So I had already had like an interest in India. This was just after COVID, right? So I really wanted to travel to India. I was like watching all of these travel vlogs of people traveling in India, and I was just like dreaming I can do the same. Because of that time of COVID, India still had its borders shut and everything. So anyway, moral of the story is I was learning Hindi like casually, and my partner Utsav reached out and asked if I was looking to learn Hindi. So he teaches Hindi in his free time. It's not his full-time job, but he just does it on the side. He really enjoys teaching. So he reached out to me and was like, hey, like, are you looking to take Hindi classes? He had saw that I'd had some content on Instagram related to India, and I was like, yeah, like this would be a much better way to learn rather than just doing Duolingo, because Duolingo only gets you so far. So yeah, that's how we met. Is basically he was my teacher, and this was in like September 2021. I had kind of started classes, and then India reopened its borders in the start of 2022. So I guess like February or March of 2022, India reopened its borders for tourists. And as soon as it opened, I was like, I need to go, I'm going. And I remember telling him, like, you know, we would chat in classes and stuff, and telling him that I wanted to come. And, you know, I wasn't sure yet if I was going to do a group tour or if I was just going to go solo, and I was just like weighing up what to do. I was a bit nervous about traveling alone, and he was like, oh, like I'll bring you around India, like I'll travel with you, because he also wanted to travel, and like a lot of his friends had like moved off to different cities and working and everything. So yeah, we just agreed that I would come to India and we would go traveling around together, and rest is history. This is obviously the short answer. There's so much more in between, but that will be for another separate video. I don't want to make each question too long, but yeah, basically I met him because he was teaching me Hindi online. Then I traveled around India with him, and yeah. Actually, looking back, it was a little bit weird that that we decided to travel together, because we didn't at that point, like our talks in class were just purely like, you know, like professional and, you know, student teacher based, and I wasn't like we didn't really know each other that well like during that period before going on the trip, but I just trusted him. He was so genuine. I just knew that like I will have a good time, that this will be a much better experience to travel locally, like with an Indian, than going to just these main tourist sites with a bunch of other foreigners. I just felt like this would be a more like authentic way to travel and see like real India with someone who knows. And during that time when we had agreed we would travel together, and actually going there, we just talked like every day, and we just got to know each other much more. And yeah, even before I went, I really, really liked him. And he liked me as well, but he wasn't expecting anything to come of our trip together. He was just thinking like, okay, we're going to travel around together, and he wasn't like thinking that anything more is going to be. But I definitely had other ideas. I knew that I really liked him a lot. He's just, even in his classes, he's so himself, like goofy, and just so many things I just really liked about him. So I knew that for me, I just knew there was a possibility that this would be something more. But yeah, that was probably not his same line of thinking. But anyway, here we are today. But yeah, if you guys want to hear the full story, I will do that in the future, a different time. Maybe we'll sit down together and chat about it. But for now, that's the basic gist of how we met. Oh, sorry, I forgot to answer them trying to manifest someone. So I've seen this a lot of like Indians specifically looking to date like a Westerner or someone from another country. And I will just say that before you think about dating someone from another culture or country, to really just be aware of many of the sacrifices you will have to make. I think it seems to be a lot of Indians like just want to, you know, be with a Westerner or something without even thinking about the realities of that. You know, I'm not from India. I'm not going to be Indian. I'm not going to have an Indian mindset, mentality. I'm not. It's not going to happen. I've grown up completely differently. Of course, I've adapted like 90% to life in India and Indian way of doing things. And I'm happy to do that and I want to do that. But will I ever like 100% adapt to Indian society, Indian way of thinking, Indian way of doing everything? Absolutely not. And that doesn't mean I don't love or respect the culture or different parts of what it means to be Indian, but I'm not Indian. So I think like there should never be an expectation if you're going to date someone from another culture or country that they are going to adapt to your culture and country only. Even if you date someone that 100% wants to live in India forever, they are not going to live exactly like you have lived and expect to live. They might have higher standards. I've even seen this myself with other foreigners living here in India. Their standards of living is like they want the exact same standard of living they had in their home country. And yeah, if you've lots of money here, then great, you can do that. But that's not the reality for a lot of foreigners coming here. It completely depends on like your spouse's job or your job or whatever. But yeah, like a lot of them will have a really high expectation of like, this is the kind of place I expect to live and this is what we should have in the house, things like that. And I think people don't really think about those details. They just think like, oh, if I marry a foreigner who loves India, then great, right? But it's not like that. So there's so much logistically and, you know, otherwise involved in dating someone from another country and marrying them. It's really not just as simple as, oh, they like my culture and country, great, let's get married. Like there really is so much into it. So that's all I would say, is just make sure you think about that very deeply before you consider dating someone from outside of your culture and country. Okay, next question is, when will you guys get married? I've definitely had this question in a lot of my comments on my videos and completely understand everyone's interest in wanting to know this. I will say that some things I do want to keep a bit more private, this being one of them, but 100% we definitely want to get married. We are definitely planning to get married. It will definitely happen, but when is not right now. Yeah, I've rushed a lot of things in my life and been very spontaneous in many different areas. And I think that now I just want to take my time. There's no rush. And of course, I don't want to be long distance for much longer. That is 100% true. But at the same time, you know, we're going to do it in our own time and when suits us. And there's a lot more factors to getting married. It's not just, oh, we love each other, let's get married. Like there's so many other things you have to really consider. But yes, we definitely will be. And when we are and when we're engaged, etc., you will definitely know about it. But as of now, for the end of this year, no, it's not happening this year for sure. And we're just enjoying, like, I know I haven't shared much of our journey with you, but we've been long distance pretty much, like, let's say since 2022. And it's like really tough and being apart for so many months per year. So like this is finally a time when when I actually get to spend 6 months in India together, because last year I was still studying, so I couldn't come here for any longer and everything. So there's so many factors of what's happened. But anyway, the moral of the story is, yes, it will happen, but not right now. But when it happens, you'll know about it. Someone said, are you still in India? Yes, I'm still in India. Yeah, I'm going to update my Instagram. So if you are ever wondering whether I'm in India or Ireland, you can just check my Instagram, and in my bio I will always say, like, if I'm in Pune, it will say that I'm in Pune, and I'll have a like location tag. And if I am not in Pune, then it will say that I'm in Ireland at the moment. So you can keep an eye out there if you're ever wondering. But yeah, I'm still in India, and I'm here until December for now, and then hope to be back January to June next year as well. So yeah. Whew. What brought you here to India? So I feel like I've kind of touched on mostly why I'm here. It's partly because I have an interest in India and Indian culture, and always have, but it's also, yes, my partner is Indian, and that's essentially why I'm here now. I guess like if I wasn't with an Indian, would I be staying for like 6 months of a year in India? Maybe, but probably not, because, you know, all the factors of like, how would I sustain a life in Ireland while spending 6 months in India, unless I'm like a digital nomad, which would love to be, but I don't have that kind of career set up. So yeah, not to say that I wouldn't be in India if it wasn't for my partner. I would definitely be visiting, I think, frequently-ish enough. But yeah, the reason I am essentially here now is because my partner is Indian and he is here. And the last question is, would you ever move to India permanently? Yes, yes is the short answer. But yeah, like, I mean, that's essentially what I'm doing now, is just living here more longer term. As of now, I definitely, for the next foreseeable, like let's say 5 years, I definitely see myself in India only. But yeah, like naturally, life happens. You just do not know where you will end up. I think that especially when you're in like a multicultural, cross-country, across, I don't know what the word is, but like, you know, if you're both from different countries, there will always be a possibility of you could end up in either country, and that's definitely something that could be a, you know, a plausible option in the future. For example, like when I have kids, I don't know where I might want to raise them. Maybe I might realize like, oh, I want to raise them in Ireland, I don't want to raise them in India. That could happen. So yeah, I do want to live in India permanently, but there will always be the option of freedom to go back to Ireland if I ever want or need. But as of now, I'm loving India. I feel so much happier here. I really love the way of life here. And yeah, definitely see this for the next foreseeable few years being my home. Okay guys, that is all of the questions. Thank you so much for the people that actually asked me questions. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I want this to be a two-way thing. So please let me know in the comments who you are, where you're from, you know, a little bit about yourself. I would love to know, because I see in my comments the same people kind of comment, and I love that. I love seeing that and getting to know, recognize your usernames. But I would love to know more about you. And please also in the comments ask any other questions you may want to know the answers to in the comments below, because I will do another second video on a Q&A in the future, so I will add them to that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will love you forever. See you in my next one.